Thank you all for joining us. My name is Mustafa, and we're going to be discussing today um, building your AI search strategy beyond SEO. Sort of, this is, I would say, the topic of 2025. We've done about 7 or 8 of these sessions and multiple courses so far. At this point, we taught over 50,000 plus marketers about AI search. So happy to nerd out in the next 30 minutes and cover as much as I can. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a growth engineer, AI search nerd. Actually started at Microsoft about 14 years ago at Bing, and then have operated in the space for nearly 15 years, as I said. I built the first Reforge course on AI search. You can probably still see the materials on Reforge. Also wrote some of the earlier studies, and we launched the first Maven course on the topic as well. Another thing is that I founded NoGood, which is a growth marketing studio based in New York, working with many startups and scale-ups from ByteDance, Microsoft, and Aura, and many leading startups in the space. And also, more importantly, I would say, also founded Goody, which is the closed loop or full stack AEO platform, helping brands, mostly enterprise brand, drive visibility and really take actions and close that sort of AEO loop from impressions all the way to action. But that's not what we're here discussing, but just want to, just sort of our background and sort of what we've been working on and why we have a thing or two to say about this. But thank you for tuning in and joining nonetheless. As you can see here, this is a very common stat out there. 75% of revenue will be driven by LLMs in 2028. This is sort of a recent stat from our friends at SEMrush. I would say more importantly, this is sort of also a mix of stats coming from the space as well. This is most of these are just produced in the past 2 months, and I always add the source. You can see here the source at the bottom, just because I think we're seeing a lot of stats being thrown at us, and I try to bring a variety of them. You can see here AI search. Right now, we're seeing 50% of consumers are actively using AI search to make a buying decision. In the consumer or commerce space, 73% of global consumers use AI in their shopping journey. This is CX Drive as the source. 40% of US shoppers use AI when shopping. It's the second most influential channel after search. If you have to break AI as a separate channel, which is, I think, many of the leading sort of analytics platforms and marketing automations, the likes of HubSpot, are starting to break it as an independent channel. This is a really helpful slide to just give us, tell us where we stand right now based on some data points, and I'm trying to find as many sources as I can. And if anyone has any additional sources they want to, or data points that they want to share, that would be helpful. But this can be for a lot of the time for a lot of executives within companies that don't come from marketing space, or this is a good slide to tackle some of the skepticism that we often see, whether people actively using this or not, and is the change truly happening or not? Given that you're all here, I believe that you believe in it, but it's very important sort of that we root any of the claims that we make into data and sort of some empirical evidence that can tell us where we stand and where we're going. So you can see also, in terms of for SaaS and B2B, we're seeing 81% of decision makers use AI in purchasing process. This is specific to IT from CIO. But also, another data point, 40% use AI for vendor vetting and recommendations, 33% for RFP drafting and analysis. We get a lot of RFPs, and I can tell immediately how many of them are generated from ChatGPT or Claude, and I think 33 is a pretty conservative number, to say the least. In travel and lifestyle and other data points, this is a recent report from Adobe Insights. You can see 29% of US consumers have used AI to plan trips. And many of these travel companies have seen 3,500% year-over-year growth. I usually don't like these sort of 1,000% growth stats. I think last year, just the usage of these platforms was not nearly as mainstream as it is today. So not surprising. This is just the growth of the surface itself and the technology itself. But again, what we're trying to say is AI search is not the future. AI search is the moment, and AI search is swallowing all of search as we know it. And that's sort of a starting point for why this matters. And not only that, it's just a matter of volume; it's a matter of quality. This is a study that we ran at Goody, and you can see here that this is one of many studies that we've done, but also other studies in trying to answer the question of what is the quality of AI search traffic compared to other channels. We're seeing 2x, 2.1 to be precise, improvement or just downstream efficiency between an AI search traffic and traditional search source leads versus AI search source leads. And you can see sort of we'll share the study afterwards, and we can tell you sort of like the breakdown on how we've done it here. But this is analyzing 117,000 inbound leads over 71 days. And you can see sort of the performance. This is specific to SaaS, just to also be precise here. But you've seen also Adobe studies talked about the 15% improvement or performance on the travel industries and so on. And I think that this phenomenon is expected. I think the funnel has collapsed, and essentially you're able to do a lot more within ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini or a Claude. Essentially, you're able to discover, take action, do the research, compare vendors, which is something that we had to go to a company website before and do a little bit more research, or using the Capteras and others and all of these vendor like review sites to decide on a vendor. And now we're doing all of this agentically, and that's sort of what we refer to as a collapse of the funnel here. So it's the most valuable channel on the web today in terms of both growth numbers, but in terms of quality of leads. That's sort of what we're trying to decide. So essentially, as a result, we've moved from SEO to AEO, where we're tracking clicks, to focusing on probabilistic metrics like visibility and brand discovery, from link building to brand reputation management and citation and social and PR partnerships, from organic traffic to organic conversions. The focus is never traffic, because we are moving into this zero-click experience. The focus now is driving organic growth, and that has always been the focus. From sort of like HEAT framework to HEAT, this is a HEAT framework. We have a little bit more on this, but for the SEO sort of nerds out there, they know this framework really well, coming from Google. Algorithms versus humans and agents, and then overall authority, topical authority, keywords, queries to prompts. This is sort of some of the change. There's quite a bit of overlap. Good SEO essentially is foundation for AEO. But I want to pause here and ask a question. What do you all think is the leading platform for AI search today? Any questions? Feel free to use the chat. I'm trying to pull the chat here. What do you all think this is a question to you all. Google, GPT, ChatGPT, Perplexity. Someone said Perplexity. Certainly not Perplexity. Gemini. Love Perplexity, but not Perplexity. They're much smaller. Gemini, Claude. Yeah, I think ChatGPT is the most common answer here. And this is sort of like and also a report that we put out looking at AI platforms by active users. Google AI Overview, but obviously Google AI Overview is a bit of a cheat here, because it's at the top of traditional Google in that sense, all of the blue links that they got. That's 2 million active users, 2 billion active users, according to the most recent earning calls, and then followed by Meta. And then followed by ChatGPT. Actually, this is ChatGPT now is 800 million active users, weekly active users in that sense. If they probably did monthly, I think Google is reporting on monthly, and Meta is reporting on monthly as well. Meta, the number is quite large, and I would assume because of the forcing that on us in the search bar and every probably like interaction with the search bar on any of their platforms, from WhatsApp to Instagram and to Facebook, involves using Llama to some degree, and that's probably where they're getting that number from. But then all the way you can see Gemini, and then AI mode, Microsoft Copilot, Perplexity, and so on. This is sort of based on publicly available information. This is up until July 2025. We actually have an up-to-date one coming up as well. But just letting you know what to focus on, where the surface is. So Google clearly remains a dominant player here. And ChatGPT is sort of like the fastest growing. And then you also have, in terms of referral traffic, and this is sort of really the main insight here. In terms of referral traffic, important to know that Google does not disaggregate the data between AI AI mode, AI overview, and traditional sort of Google search. Um, so that's why it's not showing up here like other sources. But we analyzed AI platform referral traffic search across 41 different websites, analyzing 2.8 million AI search referral traffic to tell you which platform is actually showing on our end. And you can see here that ChatGPT is leading. It's 89, nearly 90% dominance from ChatGPT, followed by Microsoft Copilot, Perplexity, Gemini. Perplexity and Copilot are definitely bunching above their weight. Claude, Grok, DeepSeek, and so on. So I care more about what I see on the right side because that's just a lot more deterministic. And I think what we're hearing from the platform, a lot of it is positioned for Wall Street and less for us as marketers. And I think ChatGPT is definitely a channel that we should not overlook given sort of the dominance here. But at the same time, keep in mind that Google does not disaggregate the data and it remains the dominant player. So if anything, I would prioritize Google #1, followed by ChatGPT. And by Google, I mean AI mode and AI overview, and not just conventional and traditional Google search and blue links. This is obviously something that you should continue to do, given that if you looked at the last study, it still and continues to maintain 54% of overall traffic sources. So in terms of conversions, AI search is rapidly also growing. It's no longer just a channel that drives traffic, but also drives significant conversions. And I'm going to move on here to sort of like a different talking point, which is the evolution here that we've covered from answer engine. And soon enough, we're currently living sort of like more of the action engine phase, where you're seeing more agentic commerce operators, the AI taking action and not just giving you an answer. And that's, to me, there's the more exciting side of it and this is frankly why I like using AEO over Geo or LLMO. I think answer engine optimization or action engine optimization is just a lot more fitting here. So an apologies for the background siren. It's just a common thing that happens in New York. So if you can hear that, that's just something that is happening on our side here. So moving on to sort of like the evolution, we've seen the sort of the ranking algorithm, the AEO, like you can see here, the summaries. And I think we're more on these two phases on the side where LLMs plus RAG. This is trying just to break down the pipeline. I think I have a better slide actually on this that breaks this. Let me go back here and show you guys that. So where is it? Yeah, it essentially like what I'm trying to get to here is let me see. Yeah, here's the slide. Essentially how the model really like gives us the answer that we're looking for. So these are the LLM generated responses. You have the training data on the left, you have the LLMs sort of in the middle, and then they get the RAG sources. So we're only able to optimize the RAG sources on the right. And this is sort of essentially how an LLM gives us the answer or makes the actions that we're looking for. So on the left side, you got the corpus of data that the LLM is trained on, public web content, books and publications, academic papers, all of that. This is sort of like the whole IP conversation that there's probably a ton of lawsuits going around there. Essentially like training and swallowing the open web as we know it and just giving us answer back. Massive memory, all that. So on the right side, these are the RAG sources that it's pulling from. This is sort of live web as we know it, doing sort of like what matches sort of like a human search, sometimes multiple searches with things like query fan out, not just one search. And that's a key difference here. I'm pulling a bunch of sources, synthesizing these sources, and bringing us back in the form of answer. A lot of the optimization and everything that we'll be discussing is more focused on the right side of it in the RAG sources, but optimizing these RAG sources is eventually lead to the influencing also the training data as well. But the training data is much harder to influence. What you're optimizing is the open web as we know it. And that's where there's essentially a massive overlap with conventional and traditional SEO as we know it. So I really think it's an important slide. We typically like break that down a little bit more detail in the course, but I wanted to get back to it and make sure that we cover that piece. So I also want to make sure that we ask the question. So what are the factors? This is where we get into a little bit more strategy. What are the factors that impact the brand visibility in LLMs and AI search today? Curious to hear maybe getting some questions from the room here. What do you guys think are the factors that are driving LLM visibility today? Like the biggest factors from your perspective. I see we have a bunch of experts here. Just feel free to use the chat for this. We will be sharing these slides. Yeah, feel free to just drop here in the chat. What do you think are the biggest factors? Is citation, Is it sort of AI friendliness? Is it sort of Reddit? I hear Reddit, Bing, optimization, FAQs. Um, Actually have some news on Reddit. It used to be Reddit a while back. I would say Reddit citation frequency has significantly dropped, especially on ChatGPT. We actually put something out on this a while back, but brand authority, um, brand mentions. Great. So we essentially like ran a study where we crunched 2.2 million prompts associated responses and citations to uncover what are the exact variables driving AI visibility. This is sort of like using a lot of the data that we have on the back end, which is essentially prompting at a scale. And these are the number of prompts and associated responses across many brands and sites. Essentially trying to get a sense of what are the factors. And you can see here, we're putting out AEO periodic tables. This is the third version. We've put out 2 versions already. And you can see here the factors breaking down, and you can see the exact score and weight by each model. If you want to like know the definitions of these variables and how we measure this weight and what methodology we've used, there's a 35-page study here. Once you get the slides, you can also get the study as well, and you can look at it. But back to the numbers here, you can see important metrics like, obviously all of the good old stuff, content remains king, content relevance, quality, trust, and credibility. All of this still matters. At the end of the day, the LLM feeds on content, and the question is whether generative or informational or transactional. More often than not, the quality of the content and the relevancy of the content will determine whether this is the right piece of information to cite or not. But citations and mentions is also quite important. So you can see that's it's already, I would say, the most influential right after content. And then you have content freshness and co-occurrence. Co-occurrence is essentially not being visible in one citation, being visible in many citations. And if there's a consistency in the way you're presented, and there's a consistency in the claims that you've made, this is sort of where the co-occurrence matters as a factor. Agent experience, which is everything that we do from robots text file to LLM text file to schema markup, JSON LD. That's what we call the agent experience, or AX here. And then the technical performance, review and UGC, all of those. You can see these factors for certain models, like, obviously like Grok, you can see social and UGC sort of, it's scoring up slightly higher, which makes sense, trained on X's data or Twitter's data. Verifiable performance metrics and co-occurrence matters for Claude a lot more than maybe other models. You can see it's 81 for Claude. I think it's an important study to look at, but for the most part, there's quite a bit of overlap with traditional SEO. But given that there's a platform shift and there's a change in the technology itself and how essentially we're getting these answers and actions, I think it's important to sort of like reevaluate what are the factors that goes into it, and that's exactly why we've done this. And you can see this assessment when you do it by a market or by a brand, you're able to tell exactly where you are ranking against these factors and criteria that we defined in the study. This is just an example that we're pulling here for skincare brands across the US. And you can see here some brands got quite a bit of work to do on content freshness or verifiable performance metrics or co-occurrence. This is another example here for US market, also looking at athletic wear brands. In this case, you can see like the Nikes, Lululemons, and others, and how they stack against one another. And definitely brand presence and digital footprint plays a massive role here. What we often say is you're no longer who you think you are what the internet says you are for these LLMs. And this is why you can see here in the study, co-occurrence, citations, UGC, reviews. That's a big change from SEO, is that 80%, and I'm using 80% here, I'm being generous with that number, but 80%, nearly 80% of the what decides your visibility today is not your owned assets. It's not your owned websites. It's actually everything else that is around you that decides that. And that's the change. It's no longer just the backlinks. It's the mention. It's the sentiment of the mention. It's what is being said in review websites like Reddit. You're absolutely right. But also what is being said on YouTube. YouTube, according to our data, YouTube is actually more frequently cited than Reddit. And the other thing is, I don't want to over-index on Reddit because Reddit has the surface coverage. Reddit covers every topics in life is you can almost find in Reddit. The same thing on YouTube. So the width and the breadth of coverage is, or the coverage of the surface does not necessarily mean that it's the one that matters to you the most. So there's certain industries you will find Reddit is not being as frequently cited, and it's not the most important source. So break things down by what matters to you as a brand, and the fact that Reddit is the most cited, which is actually, we do have some data on that. You can see here. This data is, I think, the cutoff date here is I believe August, and I think end of August actually we started seeing a drop in Reddit. Early September, end of August, we're started seeing a drop in Reddit citation. But you can see here Wikipedia, Reddit, Reuters, YouTube. These are some of the most frequently cited domain. But the most frequently cited does not always mean the most influential to you. In your case, these are just the topic. These are the most frequently cited because nearly everything that you're going to be asked to any of these models, these websites will have some type of answer. But what matters to you a lot more often than not, if you're on finance, you'll find the likes of Nerd Wallets and Investopia. If you're in travel, you'll find the kayaks and the booking.coms. So every niche and every industry has their own sort of niche player that used to dominate in SEO, and more often than not, if they have the right strategy, they will become the most frequently cited player as well. So we had some data here about how this sort of breaks down by industry. You can see here in consumer finance, NerdWallet, the CNBCs, the numbers starts looking different. You will still see the Reddits of the world, but I think you starting seeing a different answer here. The Sephora's, the Birdies, the Lord, and so on. So this is also for agentic commerce. Which store does AI search trust the most? Just looking at the stores, you can see the Sephora's, the Amazon. Sephora's actually has the Sephora community, which makes it get, frequently cited in that domain, but also the Amazon, the Ulta, Walmart, and others are also being frequently cited. This is sort of related to agentic commerce on the domain. So I want to go to how do we even do AEO? Now that I've covered, a lot of stats and sort of the lay of the land, how it all works. But I always like to start with some level of foundation. And then how do we do AEO? What's the process here? And I want to start by looking at Google's AI mode and AI overview, since it's the most important one. But what we do for these two is likely going to impact the rest of the pack as well. And the goal is not being about it's about ranking first anymore. I think what we're trying to target here is being being the cited source in AI responses and getting mentioned. So you can see here for AI overview, here's a citation example. This is what AI overview pulls from. What are the best growth marketing agencies? You will see No Good being number one. I didn't mean that as a flex. I mean it just as an example, but sorry, not sorry. You can see here some of the references this is actually pulling from, and essentially sort of what is driving that answer for Google to begin with. For AI mode, it's a lot more interesting. It's kicking off multiple searches. It's here the question, what are the best geo tools for AI search? You can see here it's kicking off 6 searches. This is what we call, this is query fan out. And then looking at 103 different sites. And this is sort of where it becomes really different from SEO, because SEO, you have one website and it's ranking, and you can do skyscraper technique to outrank the next sort of site, and you can do all of that. But you had one domain, one website, and you're going to sort of this race with that one website. Right now, all of a sudden, it's analyzing 103 different sites to come back to one answer, synthesize that answer for us, and bringing us back a response that is personalized. So you can see here AI mode. In this case, it's bringing back 11 relevant references after analyzing 103 different sites and bringing back these references. And you can see sort of the number of references increase. So how do you even dominate? This is sort of how it works. And I'm sure you're all, for the most part, aware of this. But how do you dominate AI mode? And in this case, I think the foundation is good content, is sort of high quality, good content, helpful experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness remains value. And that's the foundation to SEO. It's the foundation to AEO. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. That's what drives the internet as we know it, is quality content that is worthy of writing, worthy of mentioning, and worthy of citation. That's what we call heat here. Helpfulness is a key component. That's exactly just what makes the H, and that's what we added here. And then as we're building this pyramid here, you can see the technical AEO and technical SEO remains a strong foundation. Web Vital, site speed, canonicals, these machines need to be able to access the websites, whether traditional search engine or a robot or a crawler that comes in to cite your content. So you have agents, crawlability, rendering, structured data, LLM text file, robots text file. All of these matter with technical AEO. I would actually say your robots text file actually matters a lot more than LLM. LLM is more of a guidance and suggestion and newly emerging framework. Robots text file actually matters a lot more. In this case, we have a lot of experiments on that, but I know I'm actually already at 12:30, and I'm gonna go for 10 minutes overtime here. Hopefully, I still have most of you around. But after technical AEO, you have the sentiment and UGC. Sentiment UGC, social signals, how users talk about you on forums like Reddit and YouTube and others. And then we have citations and mentions across owned and earned domains. Essentially, if I have to like sort of break it down here, you have what we call sort of like there's you, which is the content that you cover. Essentially how models and agents interact to websites and content, which is technical AEO and technical SEO. And then at the top here, you have what the internet says about you, which is citations, mentions, sentiment, and UGC. And then all the way at the top, co-occurrence, which is consistently being referenced across multiple sources. And your website just is merely one of these sources and you're merely one of these citations. You can do so much, obviously, with your websites, but if you're really into that citation game, it's very important to sort of realize that there's the internet at large is what defines and decides this answer. It's not just your own domain. And that's sort of like what we believe is the path to sort of dominating AI mode. And this is a little bit about sort of like the heat framework and the foundation to it. And I'm going to move quickly to sort of like how we do AEO on our end. And this is sort of like the pillars that we use to define an AEO strategy. There's the own visibility, earned visibility, technical optimization, and AI search intelligence. So be the citation or being the source, this is the own visibility part. Your website can become the source. The goal is to be the source, replace a source, or get mentioned. So being the source, you want to make sure that you're actually answering the prompts that people out there are looking for in your industry. Typically, we've lost already the top of the funnel. We've lost all of the educationals, the how-tos, for the most part, to ChatGPTs and the Claudes and the Perplexity, because there's just no value to that content as much anymore. I think I would focus more on the high intent and the mid intent of the funnel, because that can probably drive a lot more impact to you. And this is where you want to be present in the conversation, where people are ready and willing to make a decision. So the own visibility is a lot around sort of like how to make your content relevant to what people prompt for, and answering sort of like answer-centric content, authority, LLM seeding and strategy, citation and replacements. All of this sort of mattered here. And then there's earned visibility. Think of it as sort of link building 2.0. I'm glad link building is over in the traditional sense, and we're focusing more on really like digital PR or PR that is thoughtful and intentional, where we're actually trying to focus on the nature of the conversation and the context of being mentioned and being mentioned by who. This all matters. And it's not just chasing backlinks. This is also creators in UGC. We're talking about YouTube. We're talking about Reddit. And I'm not advising you to go and spam YouTube and Reddit. And if anyone tells you otherwise, tells you go do that, that's just not sustainable. We've seen that over and over. So just making sure that you're truly doing proper brand building here and sort of connecting your social team and PR team into your AEO strategy and making sure that you're answering what people are truly looking for is another way to sort of dominate and earn visibility, but also partnership and making sure that what are the most frequently cited domain, most influential domains and citations in the specific prompts that I'm after, and how can I optimize for them. That's why tooling that Goody and others really matters in the space, and that's where people use some of these tools to like turn a lot of the earned visibility and own visibility into structured data and start taking actions on it. And then you have the technical optimization part, just being AI friendly and sort of crawlable from LLM, like the infrastructure. We talked about LLM text file, robots text file, structured data. If you're in consumer, the PD page and what happens in the PDP page is incredibly important, sort of from frequently asked questions to the ingredients of your products and everything in between. This is sort of all matters, not just for technical optimization, but also for the own visibility. And then the AI search intelligence, you want to maintain some type of a closed loop to tell you what actions I'm taking actually driving that impact. And that's why tooling here really matters. From visibility monitoring, which is probabilistic, what is visibility, sentiment, what is my share of voice, all of that, these data matters because we lost the clicks, right? Like it's a zero-click experience, but also tracking the clicks and the AI referrals, which you're not going to be getting a lot of, which is why I'm telling you bridge that zero-click gap with some probabilistic metrics. But at the end of the day, what we need is I want to know if I'm doing well, if my visibility is improving, if the actions I'm taking on my websites, on my content, the team, what my social team does, what my PR team does, is actually yielding the results intended. And sort of like this is sort of the intelligence piece, and this is where you need tooling, as I said. So for AEO content strategy, we identify priority topics and make sure that we understand priority topics by identifying what are the topics that matter to us in terms of intent, high intent, mid funnel intent. Those are the ones that matters, where people are looking for the solution, where people are trying to buy and has sort of the identifier, looking for a software, looking for the item that you're selling, whatever it is that when the item is being used in a context, that reflects intent. If you're looking for marketing automation, that can be a topic, but a better topic would be marketing automation software. Someone is looking for that, is not just like looking to research marketing automation software and learn what it means or discuss the topic. They're more likely looking for the software itself and more likely to buy. The identifier that reflects intent really matters here. Conduct AI search audit, understand what are the citations that make up the answer that drive your narrative. Using tooling here is very important so you can get the frequency. If you ask ChatGPT questions and I ask questions, we get two entirely different answers because of memory alignment. So this is why tooling matters too. Identifying training and rack sources. I would say focus on rack sources. Training is sort of a little harder here. And this is what tooling is focused on to generate responses. So this is a citation that we talked about once again. Create AEO content strategy, essentially that ties back to based on the what people are actually searching for or what people are prompting for, which is using any of these tools, you can identify that. And also identifying the citations and then creating a strategy, your own content strategy based on that. And then more importantly, monitoring and tie this back to the probabilistic and deterministic metrics that matter here. So these are some of the best practices around sort of content creation for AEO, from content quality and focusing on it. If it's not citable, if it's not reading worthy, don't create it. Make sure that its content quality is very important. Listicles do win quite a bit, but don't get spammy about it. Make sure that you're actually creating listicles that add value. Content relevance still also incredibly important, and we talked about why it matters, but relevance to what? You need to know what people are prompting for, and this is why some of these sort of like, prompt research tools really matter. Topical authority, natural language, this is sort of like the good old best practices that we use in SEO still really matters here as well. And then brand trust and sentiment, just making sure that overall everything that you claim, just back it up with data, and making sure that you're discussing sort of the topical expertise that really matters to your brand. And this is sort of back to the topical authority piece. I have more on semantic chunking and other things, but I want to pause and see if you have any questions, given that sort of like we have a limited time here, and I'm happy to spend a little bit more time with those who are willing to stay. But any questions? There's a lot that we covered. Let me see if people. I see some questions here. How long does it take to work through pillars of AEO, Geo? It's essentially like it can be incredibly fast. We've seen like within 3-4 days you can see impact on ChatGPT, but it can be also months. It really depends on your ability to influence some of these citations and drive impact in that sense. And also your ability for you to create content that becomes a source for these models. So it largely depends what you're trying to actually optimize for. LLM responses, citation geo-dependent. They absolutely are. The RAG is geo-dependent and language dependent as well. Asking a question in German versus English versus French can yield different answers just because the meaning's different, semantics are different, but at the same time, where the model goes and pulls the training sources or the RAG sources that is going to bring back a lot of the time varies by region, and we see this in our tooling all the time. I don't have any like data points on it at the moment, but the definite answer is absolutely it varies by region, and it varies obviously also by model, but it more importantly it varies by region, and that even traditional search does vary by region. More often than not, many of them go and pull from the open web through Bing or Google and others, and that's sort of where you see also quite a bit of overlap with SEO. Any other questions? I have a bunch of like sort of stuff here on technical AEO that I'm cover really quickly, and then we can sort of like wrap up from here. So I want to talk about sort of like the AI crawlability and sort of like what are some of the challenges that people have, because I think this is sort of it's one of the areas that sort of matters quite a bit, and most people, I feel like, on our side we just get a lot of people like lost in that area, and there's fancy things that are being thrown at you all the time, like LLM text files and others. So let's just get to the bottom of it. AI crawlability is just about these crawlers and models being able to get information that you're looking for on your websites fast and bring that back into an answer. You've seen AI mode looking at 103 different sites, and it's essentially analyzing this data. And these crawlers are getting smarter, better, and faster every single day. So I think the optimizing too much for that has a diminishing return from my perspective. But there's sort of good old best practices. Just make sure you avoid, and this is what we're looking for here. So ChatGPT and Claude bots cannot process JavaScript, for example. You just make sure that you're using sort of good old HTML. Your content is easily readable. This is sort of, most of you who are coming from the SEO space probably already doing that. But we see a lot of these highly designy websites that are very JavaScript heavy. We just don't recommend it because it's just hard to grab that content for most of these bots. Many AI bots also have tight timeout. If it takes forever to load your content, if you have any issues that are related to just like loading and performance, I would tackle them. Significant percentage of 404 that leads to 404, and these like sort of massive sort of triage of 404 pages. It's also not really ideal. So make sure that you prioritize server-side rendering, use correct sort of like make sure that it's 1404 to 104 to like redirect it to the new page with a clear 301 redirect, good old best practices as well. And the speed and optimization is also important. So the LLM text file is mostly guidance. Some models rely on it more than others. And for the most part, most of the experiments that we ran, we didn't see a significant impact by adding it. That being said, there's, you know, the chief product officer at OpenAI said that they're using it, and in one of their more recent YC talks, and this is why I think maybe like they will depend on it more and more. So don't leave any opportunity on the table. But for now, robots text file is not suggestion. Robots text file where you can say block this bot or allow this bot. And if you're blocking these bots from scrolling your websites, ChatGPT is not going to be able to go and cite your content. Thus, you will be missing the opportunity to be cited. That's why I would prioritize robots text file and make sure that you are getting it right. So how AEO's performance is measured, I think we look at citation, we look at probability there. We also like, you know, we have some case studies. I don't want to like, you know, talk about the case studies, my platform. I'm probably like going to skip that part. We have a great platform. We believe we're awesome, all of this, but I'm here to give you what you're looking for. And the challenge of putting it all to action is typically like comes down to memory is different, alignment is different. So you want to make sure that you're using some level of tooling, and this is why we built Goody. So I'm going to skip over the Goody slides. I think you can check out the websites, higoody.com. There's a bunch of also not only case studies, but a lot of important research there that we cited here multiple times. And but yeah, it's like using tooling of this, you will be able to precisely tell what are the citations, what are the gaps that I have in perception gaps, content gaps, and immediately tackle them instead of getting out there and being lost in all of it. We're also like have a course coming up. This will be like our fourth run for this course. And we'll have many events coming up. We'll go deeper. If you have any specific topics you would like us to cover, any questions, feel free to reach out. Also, feel free to add me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and reach out if you have any questions, if you have any feedback about how we can run these sessions better. Appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great, wonderful rest of the day.